Heyo, what is up guys? Jinxon here again with another Throne and Liberty video. And today I'll be introducing to you guys my new dual greatsword build, which is probably my worst build so far as well. I feel like most people won't like what I'm about to show, so I just want to remind that I'm doing most of these for fun. And I usually host my own dungeon parties as well, so I'm not really holding anyone down most of the time. So yeah, before I start the video, I just want to let you guys know that the build I did is not the optimal build for dual greatsword. So without further ado, the idea I have for this build is to focus on the ice tornado damage, which requires a pretty high amount of bonus damage for it to do more damage. So I got the Juno boat sword because it got the highest base damage out of all swords, and plus it also has cooldown reduction trait. And for my secondary sword, I have Duke Magnus sword for that cooldown reduction, and the passive gives you a huge amount of heavy attack as well, since shock also works against bosses. I'm using the Phantom Wolf set effect for the bonus damage, which includes the mask and the gloves that gives cooldown reduction as well as attack speed. I suggest you guys getting the cooldown reduction trait on the mask first, and then the mana recovery trait, because with high attack speed and cooldowns, you're bound to run into mana issues. And speaking of bonus damage, I also swapped out Supreme Devotion Cape for Eldritch Whispers, so I can proc my Ice Tornado faster as well as getting the huge bonus damage increase. I also suggest the health recovery, max health, and skill damage reduction on the cape, because with dual greatsword you would have pretty bad sustain, so having the health recovery would help you out a bit in solo dungeon contracts. And as usual, if you're a melee user, Field General 2 set effect is the best in slot, since it gives a massive 150 heavy attack chance, so I picked the armor and the shoes for that. Lately I've been using Divine Justicar pants a lot due to how much dexterity it gives, alongside 85 crit chance, which is really good in my opinion. And I also don't plan to go for wisdom this time, because for some reason, greatsword skills actually have pretty low cooldowns. So I don't really need high cooldowns for 100% uptime in DPS. Usually I think Clasp of the Overlord would be the better option for necklace, but since I have mana issues, I picked the Templar Choker instead. So I think alternately, you can just swap between Templar Choker for bossing or in dungeon, and Clasp of the Overlord for when you do dungeon contracts. And as usual, I use Primal King bracers, but this time I absolutely have to use it due to it giving the highest amount of bonus damage out of all bracers. However though, when I am doing dungeon contracts, I often swap to Forged Golden Bangle instead. Cause with dual greatsword, I actually have very little amount of sustain, so by swapping to Golden Bangle and you pair it with your cloak and health recovery food buffs, as well as Da Vinci's Chill, you'll get a pretty high amount of passive regeneration. And for my rings, I'm using Amber Dimensional Band this time, since I don't need Wisdom from Sapphire Band. Alabaster Band is perfect for the build since I need more attack speed for Ice Tornado. Plus, not only it gives strength, but also stun chance, which is what greatsword needs. And lastly, I use Spectral Skull's belt for that dexterity, as well as mana recovery, which is really good for the build rather than Bloodlust belt. In general, try to get the health recovery traits if you guys do plan to go solo in dungeon contracts. Or if you don't, then you can just get max health instead. And as for the rune effects, just make sure you reach 1000 crit chance before switching to heavy attack with red runes. For blue runes, I would go with max health or melee evasion, and then with yellow rune, I would get anything healing related as well. So here is the specialization setup that I came up with, and I tried to kind of focus more on Ice Tornado's damage. And the reason why I don't pick any of the charge specialization for Guillotine, Blade, and Deathblow is that I kinda prefer to be more like a brawler type of gameplay. Like for example, Awakening Warrior in Black Desert Online is very fast. So I try to imitate that kind of gameplay, even though it ends up sacrificing a whole lot of DPS. Da Vinci's Chill is very important when you're fighting a non-dungeon boss monster, because to proc Ice Tornado's additional damage specialization, you need to stack the Weaken Frost effect, which can only be done with either Ice Tornado or Da Vinci's Chill. And at 10 stacks, it will apply this effect called Bind Icebound, which will allow you to proc the additional damage from Ice Tornado. And not only that, but your Frost Cleaving skill also benefits from Bind Icebound, which pretty much increases its damage by roughly 23%. So with that being said, the usual combo I use starts with Cruel Smite into Da Vinci's Chill so that it can proc Frost Weaken, and then Precision Dash for heavy attack chance into Willbreaker, Stunning Blow, Guillotine Blade, and then Ascending Slash to Knockdown for more Death Blow damage. Into Cruel Smite again, Frost Cleaving with Icebound effect, and lastly Ice Tornado to finish the combo.